Hey, Steve Gamache here for Chef Knives to Go, and this is the Hatsukokoro Sunaarashi VG10 Kurozome Kiritsuke 210 millimeter knife. This knife has a lot of polish to it, so we'll try not to blast you with it. My apologies if I butchered the names there. It's a handful, or I should say a mouthful. Let's take a look at it and break it down. Keep in mind the weights and dimensions on these knives can vary just a little bit from knife to knife. So the construction on these has a VG10 full stainless core. You can see that core steel peeking out from the edge of cladding right there. That cladding is also stainless. It's soft stainless, and it's got a Damascus or multi-layered cladding on it. And what they've done is an acid etch to that cladding, and then put a pretty high polish to it, almost a mirror finish to it. So it's kind of hard to show you. It's kind of dark actually normally. Then to kind of show you, I got to hit you with that light there, but it kind of looks a little more like that in practice. It's not super bright, but very, very nice fit and finish on these. The weight on this is 132 grams or 4.7 ounces. Edge length is about 216 on this one, or about 8.5 inches from the tip to the back of the heel. Overall length about 358 millimeters or 14.1 inches. These are thin blades, although they've got a fair amount of stiffness to them, especially in the back half, given how thin they are. I got about 2 millimeters thick on the spine at the back, and then about 1.7 halfway down. Pretty much keep that, and this has that corner there from that reverse sword tip to it. And then we've got a pretty generous grind here. There's not just a place you can say, well, it starts the grind. It's kind of just a contour all the way down. It's a pretty thin blade, as I mentioned, and they grind these nice and thin at the tip. There you go. That's a pretty thin tip, so the performance on these should be very, very good. Here's your choil shot again, very thin at the edge, so these should be excellent performers. Height is about 46.1 at the heel on this one, and you've got plenty of clearance there for your fingers. They've got a slight curve here, kind of a hard, quick curve from the choil into the neck. The neck's almost as wide as the handle, but not quite. But you got a good spot there for your finger for a pinch grip. Not a problem. The handles are octagonal wenge with a buffalo horn ferrule on them. They've done a good glue-up job or seal job where the tang goes into the handle. And wenge is cool. It's a little heavy, so you'll see that in the balance on this. It's kind of a dense wood, but each one's unique. They've got a lot of cool figure to the woods. Every handle is going to be a little bit different. That heavier handle is going to bring our balance point back a little bit because the blade's pretty light. So the balance point is pretty much right at that choil right there. So in terms of a pinch grip, it's going to be a little handle heavy, balance point wise. So it's still a light knife. It's only, under 5 ounces. So it's still flickable and nimble. It's just going to be a little handle heavy with these handles. As I said, fit and finish is very nicely done. On the right side of the blade, you've got etched kanji and VG10 on there. Again, here's your core steel. Here's your cladding. The spine is polished nicely and rounded. Here's the left side of the blade. And besides the spine being polished and rounded, so is the choil into the neck. So very nice finish on that. I'll give this a 5, maybe 6 out of 10 out of the box edge. It's not the world's sharpest. You could probably get these a little bit sharper if you do your part, but they're usable out of the box. Let's take a look at the cutting board profile on this. All right, here we go. So you'll see this kind of just a gentle curve throughout. It doesn't have much flat on it, so it just flows into the heel. There you go. It's smooth, but it just flows in the heel. You might be able to do some chopping towards the back, but there's not a definitive flat spot. The belly's fairly aggressive towards the tip on this, and so that means I can get this up pretty high, at least this particular one. I can get it pretty high before it wants to dig the tip in. So this will rock really good over stuff. And you could do some tip draws with it, but you'll have to bring the handle up fairly high. Push-pull cuts, glide cuts will be great. A little chopping maybe towards the back. Definite rocker. That's the profile on this one. The Gyuto 210 was kind of similar. So that's kind of this maker's style for this line, at least for these two knives. So this is A very nice looking package, all stainless, got a fair amount of polish to it, some interesting characteristics. Thin, should be high performance. This is the Hatsukokoro Sunaarashi VG10 Kurozome Kiritsuke 210mm knife from Chef Knives To Go.